Ford blames it on being drunk, but he says he will not be stepping down.
Another varsity season has started.
A startling announcement from Toronto's mayor. A long-awaited inquest nears an end. And the Senate votes on the removal of 3 controversial members. Good evening again. Thank you for being with us. A bombshell at Toronto City Hall today. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford now admits he did smoke crack cocaine.
Ford blames it on being drunk, but he says he will not be stepping down. Adrian Arsenault has more.
Months of pleading from foes and friends for Mayor Rob Ford to step aside, and here's his answer. No, but he's still sorry for what he did.
I sincerely apologize.
The usual denials gone.
I know I have to regain your trust and your confidence.
This day was destined to be different when just a few hours earlier, the man known to rage at reporters seemed to be egging them on to just ask the right question.
You asked me a question back in May, and you can repeat that question.
What was he up to? Well, this.
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
When,
but
sir?
No, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you
Have I
smoked
tried
crack
it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors.
He said this happened probably about a year ago, and that may make sense, may coincide with the video, the one he once denied existed. At least one of the videos police say they seized in a June raid in Toronto. A video police say they've now turned over to the courts, part of a months-long investigation. Already hundreds of pages of court documents have been released. Documents that speak to Rob Ford and his friend Sandra Lisi, who's now charged with extortion in connection with that tape. All understand there are more documents, potentially more revelations to come, and the mayor likely knows it. Is that why he's changed his story now? No, he says.
I don't even remember after some of the stuff that you guys see me, the state I've been in. It's a problem.
Yes, it is, and that's the point, which is why he says he'll change and not go away. This will surely earn support from his base, who have stood by him no matter the allegation. And from the police, there is every expectation that more documents from their investigation will be released soon. This goes on. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Toronto.
The Thunder Bay inquest into the death of Bruce Muniz will wrap up tomorrow. The 27-year-old died in 2006 after a police standoff at his home in Neskantaga First Nation. The inquest jury is now choosing recommendations on how to avoid similar deaths. The inquest was webcast over the past 7 days, with 20 witnesses taking the stand. The jury heard that Muniz fired a shotgun several times that night and then later shot himself in the abdomen. It took another 19 hours for specialized police officers to be flown in, enter the home, and get him medical attention. Muniz was eventually airlifted to Thunder Bay, and he died the next day. The lawyer for the coroner, Leonard Kim, says a big question has been why police did not go in sooner. But he says the safety of citizens and police are also important priorities. The lawyer for the Anishinaabe Police says with only one officer on the reserve, it's a difficult situation.
The death of Bruce Muniz operates as a sad story on so many levels. We have the loss of the opportunity for a young boy to grow into manhood and health. We have the loss of a son. We have the loss of a community member. An inquest is an opportunity to do some good from tragic events.
Edwards and several other lawyers at the inquest are asking the jury to declare the death a suicide. The lawyer for Munia's father is asking them to declare it an accident. She's also calling for better mental health resources and crisis response for remote reserves. The jury is expected to deliver their recommendations tomorrow.
Thunder Bay water rates are set to rise again despite some concerns expressed by City Council last night. Since 2010, the price of water has jumped nearly 43%, and there is no end in sight for the increases. An updated financial plan for the local water authority says consumption is falling and costs are rising. Dennis Ward has more on last night's meeting.
If you weren't already, it may be time to start thinking about how often you turn on the tap. With another 6% increase expected in 2014, water rates will have jumped nearly 50% since 2010. None of this should come as a surprise to Council, who had already approved a nearly identical pricing plan. Some did raise concerns, however, commenting the only reward for water conservation has been higher rates. Larry Hebert has consistently voted against the increases of the last few years.
1 year during that period, the tax increase was $32 on the average home, and the water increase was just short of $97. And again, with people on fixed income, this is very difficult.
Hebert would be the sole vote against the increase. That will put the average annual water bill at about $950. That works out to about a half a cent for every 1 liter used. The plan also includes further increases of 3% for the foreseeable future. Council has also decided to urge the Thunder Bay DSAB to continue delivering the homemaking program. The service offers support to help keep people in their homes rather than hospitals or long-term care beds. The general manager of community services says dealings with the DSAB have become awkward.
And I've heard from people in the community that the DSAB board is becoming a little bit inaccessible because they are being told that the only way to get to the DSAB is through the board. And I would rather have solved this at the administrative level and had a discussion where we would just solve it, but they're very resolute about only talking to their board, and that's creating a bureaucratic nightmare for people who really want to get some changes in the DSAB organization.
6 members of council sit on the board, including Joe Verderamo, who says the DSAB has already made a decision to terminate the program. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
Councillor Paul Pugh feels city staff are intent on putting an end to Dease Pool. A report on the condition of the city's 3 outdoor pools came back for approval at last night's meeting. The 100-year-old pool on Dease Street is a major concern for the city and in need of $1.2 million in repairs. Pugh says he's suspicious of the way the resolution was passed last night. It makes mention of renewal projects at Heath Park and Widnall pools, but only says a report will come back with potential recreation experiences for the Dease Pool site next year. Senior staff say it will cost $1.7 million to replace the facility, but add there isn't enough room in the current location. Pugh says it doesn't need to be located in the same spot, and he believes there are options nearby.
But I am very concerned that we continue to have Dease Pool as a pool, not as a splash pad or some other thing, as a pool. People don't learn to swim in splash pads. They're nice. I like the one at Prince Arthur's Landing, but it's not a replacement for a pool. We've had these pools for generations. They've done us well. I think that we need to keep them.
The future of Dease Pool will likely end up being a decision of the next council. A replacement strategy will not come forward until 2015.
The annual food banks report, known as the Hunger Count, was released today. And although it appears food bank usage might be dropping, that's not the case, according to the Regional Food Distribution Association. The report shows local and national statistics when it comes to measuring the need for food banks within the national food share system. RFD Executive Director Volker Krom says they've seen a minor decline in numbers, but he says their load continues to grow when it comes to providing food for other programs in the city. And although it may appear that less people are using the food banks, the same people who have used it for years keep coming back.
What's really interesting is that although we have fewer people coming to food banks, they're coming more often. And that's generally what's happening is those that are poor are getting poorer. And so we have to really take a look at that. That's why I think the shift to giving a hand up as opposed to just a handout is an important aspect that we want to focus on.
Crom says the RFDA plans to expand their services to better address the needs in the region.
Students from Westmount Public Schools spent the morning honoring the service of veterans at Riverside Cemetery. The grade 7 class was cleaning the headstones and graveyard area as an act of respect for the sacrifices made by all Canadian service people throughout history. Cheryl Holmes has more.
Heading into Remembrance Day, people are always looking at new ways to honor and remember the sacrifices made by our veterans and service people. That's why students from Westmount School spent the morning using water and toothbrushes to clean the graves of soldiers who have passed.
I think it's really important for students this age to continue to have a connection with our veterans and with our soldiers. And it's a way for them to get a hands-on experience and be out here and connect with these soldiers and really something to make Remembrance Day more special for these students.
Cleaning the headstones of war vets is common practice in Europe. Families will adopt the grave, take care of it, and honor the soldier who's lost their life for our freedom. Members of the Air Cadets and Royal Canadian Legion came out to help in the event. They say if the vets in the graves could see what's being done, they would be so honored.
This school deserves a lot of credit for bringing this in here. This I can only say it once, that I think this is the first time a project like this has been done.
In fact, it is the first time a project like this has been done in Thunder Bay. Students and teachers are hoping that next year the event grows even bigger. Following the cleaning of headstones, students will be recording the name, birth date, and other information of the service person to learn more about whom exactly it is that lost their lives for us.
It's cool, like we didn't know who they were, and now we're gonna see all about them and like what they look like and get into detail of what happened in their lives before they had war.
The students call this learning experience surprising. Not only were some kids shocked by the age of the service people who had lost their lives, they say it was eye-opening to spend time at the graves, taking care of them, and honoring part of our history.
Seeing how bad shaped the gravestones are, it's kind of sad because people are like forgetting about it, and it's really important to remember.
More remembrance events will be held throughout the city Monday. Cheryl Holmes, TBT News.
A summit is underway at the Nor'Wester Hotel that aims to increase economic development for First Nations across the Robinson Superior region. The event brought together chiefs, economic development officers, resource development coordinators, and industry professionals to discuss and share ideas. The goal is to provide new opportunities in the Robinson Superior region, which stretches from Thunder Bay to Wawa and north to Armstrong. Catherine Banning is the Community Planning Advisor for the Nokiwin Tribal Council. She says the event brings a wide range of people together, and each person has something different to offer.
We all have common interests, and it's time for us to sit down together to share those common interests, because although we all have common interests, we might not all have common strengths. So some of our communities may have strengths in the forestry sector, others may have strengths in the mining sector or the education sector. So working together, we can share each other's strengths, learn from them, and grow together.
The summit will continue to run until Thursday.
Thunder Bay history lovers are in for a bit of a treat tonight. The author of a new book on William McGilvray is here for an event at the Waverley Resource Library. Historian Irene Tournier-Gordon is set to launch her latest book about the fur trade titled The Laird of Fort William. The work chronicles the life of McGilvray, who presided over the Northwest Company during its dramatic rise beginning in 1804 to its catastrophic fall in 1821. William McGilvray's story is well known in our area because of Fort William Historical Park. But Tournier-Gordon says it was his relative anonymity amongst the broader Canadian historical community that compelled her to write the book.
He seemed like one of the more important fur trade people, and nobody seemed to write about him. And I guess people in Thunder Bay know about him, but even in Winnipeg, which is a big fur trade place, most people had never heard of him. And I thought it would be rather important since he was the most powerful businessman at that time.
The Laird of Fort William is Tournier-Gordon's 8th book and 5th about the Canadian fur trade. Tonight's launch, which will include a reading by the author as well as a slide presentation, gets underway at 7 o'clock at the Waverley Library Auditorium.
The annual Parade of Lights is coming back again this year, and organizers are hoping the turnout is bigger than ever. More than 60 brightly colored trucks traveled down the parade route last year, which was lined with thousands of spectators. The event was able to raise over $19,000 for local children's charities. This year's parade is set for Saturday, December 7th at 7 o'clock, And parade chair Greg Stevenson says he can't wait to see what people have in store for their floats this year.
I think you're going to see some of the usual stuff that we've seen every year. We have our people that come out every year, but they always try and throw a different flair on it. So I think expect the unexpected.
This year's parade marshal is 10-year-old Kaylee Harrison. She's a new Special Olympics athlete who has just qualified for the ladies' deep end swim team. Her mother says Kaylee is overjoyed by the opportunity.
It's an honor. We as a family have been going out to the parade for a number of years. In fact, I can remember sitting in the back seat of the car when Kaylee was an infant. That would have been, she would have been like a month old, and that was the first time that she attended the parade.
Harrison says her daughter can't wait to go back this year and be part of the parade. Participants are encouraged to register early on the Parade of Lights webpage.
Well, let's turn to weather now. Let's not rush the snow quite yet, Fiona. Not a bad day out there today.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice, at least the first half of it or so. Last night we had quite a bit of cloud cover, but this morning it moved out. Unfortunately, behind it we have that second system, that low from the southwest that has been pushing clouds into the region for the last few hours. But during that time, with that bit of sunshine, a high of 7 was reached. Last night's low hit -2. But still a little bit gusty from the west-southwest up to 43 kilometers per hour. The good news is that when it comes from the south or the west, it's usually a little drier, a little warmer, so not as bad. But right now, Thunder Bay is currently at 3 Celsius, and that's definitely one of the warmer spots. Of course, Sault Ste. Marie is quite a bit warmer, but everywhere westward, sitting around the freezing mark or slightly below it. Red Lake is currently at -2, and there's a fair amount of cloud cover across the region. Tonight we are going to drop down to the freezing mark, so again, a very mild overnight low. Usually at this time of year we should be seeing lows of about -5, -6. So this is a nice surprise for many who aren't quite ready to be shoveling that snow just yet. Winds will be light, dipping down to about 9 kilometers per hour from the north. And as we head into Wednesday, right now where the jet stream is, it's moving very quickly. It's fairly horizontal. There's not a lot of dips, highs and lows. And what that's doing is it's causing systems to move through relatively quickly. What that means is every day is going to be a new surprise, a new system moving through, which is why after kind of a nice start today and the clouds rolled in this afternoon, tomorrow we might see a mix of sun and cloud, but you're also going to get some brisk cold winds moving in from the northwest, which unfortunately means doesn't matter what the temperature says, it's going to feel a little bit chilly tomorrow. I'll have more details on the changing weather patterns this week. It's later on the NewsHour.
All right, thanks very much, Fiona. Well, a controversial landmark vote in Canada's Senate today is just wrapping up. We'll have details on that for you right after these words.
It's been a terribly exhausting exercise, and it's a very sad state of affairs.
Breaking news, a controversial vote in Canada's Senate has just wrapped up. Members of the upper chamber were voting on whether to suspend Senators Patrick Brazeau, Mike Duffy, and Pamela Wallin for allegedly claiming improper expenses. Individual votes were held in each case, and in a vote of 50 to 29, with 13 senators opting not to vote, former Conservative member Senator Brazeau has been suspended. Senator Mike Duffy has also been suspended in a vote of 52 to 28, with 11 senators abstaining. The motion for Wallin passed by a vote of 52 to 27, with 12 senators choosing not to vote. The suspensions without pay permit Duffy, Brazeau, and Wallin to retain health, dental, and life insurance benefits. They will last for the duration of this parliamentary session, which could continue for the next 2 years.
The federal environment watchdog says the Harper government is doing a poor job protecting parks, wilderness, and species at risk. Margot McDermott has the details.
For many Canadians, nature is a big part of their cultural identity. But today's audit says the federal government is neglecting its duty to protect it.
The government has not met key commitments, deadlines, and obligations to protect Canada's natural spaces.
Canada has more than 500 species at risk. It legally must develop plans to help those species recover, but the report says it's years behind. In the case of Environment Canada, it could take 10 years to catch up.
I think the situation is urgent in the sense of there are many species where populations are in quite dramatic decline.
The audit says Parks Canada doesn't have a good handle on the condition of its national parks. It hasn't been able to assess the ecological integrity of more than 40% of them, partly because of cuts to its conservation officers and scientists.
We need this really strong science basis of knowledge in order to be able to understand what's going on in our parks and to be able to fix the problems as they arise.
Other critics point to the quickly disappearing sage grouse as an example of what they call lack of political will. Environment Canada moved to protect the bird only after it was forced to.
Because they were brought to court by an environmental organization that said, you must act, you are failing to act.
But the Environment Minister says her government is targeting efforts where it counts.
Speaker, our government is committed to protecting and preserving our rich biodiversity, which is why Budget 2012 increased funding for species at risk.
There is one hopeful bit in the report. Waterfowl like ducks and geese have rebounded because the government had a plan and worked with conservation groups. The report says it should take that same approach to protect other wildlife and natural spaces. Margaret McDermott, CBC News, Ottawa.
Shocking footage for you now of two planes colliding in midair over Superior, Wisconsin on Saturday with skydivers inside. A helmet-mounted camera captures the harrowing, heart-stopping moments. Two skydiving planes were flying over Lake Superior when the two clipped each other. One plane burst into flames, raining down fiery pieces of the aircraft. Skydivers then tried to maneuver for their lives around the burning parts. Amazingly, everyone survived. That includes the pilot of the downed aircraft who was able to parachute to safety.
Quebec Muslims say they've been subjected to increased physical and verbal abuse since the province proposed its Charter of Quebec Values. The legislation would forbid public employees from wearing religious symbols in the workplace. Alison Northcott reports.
And we were crossing the street when it happened.
Hanadi Saad was walking along this street with friends a few weeks ago when a man she didn't know began yelling at her.
And he was starting to say bad words. Terrorists, go back home, we don't want to see your hijab, you have to take it off.
Saad has lived in Quebec for 23 years. She says incidents like that used to be rare, but in the last month she's been targeted by anti-Muslim comments while at work, at a cafe and at the grocery store.
I'm a human, you know? I have the right to wear the veil. I have the right, like everybody, to be what I am.
In relation to reasonable accommodation, the Quebec Muslim Council says many others are experiencing the same thing.
Today, Muslim women wearing veils are scared to go publicly and to walk alone in parks, in buses, in metro, in malls. So this is really dangerous now.
In recent weeks, the council has seen a 300% increase in complaints about incidents like this one on a Montreal city bus this summer, where a passenger hurls insults at a woman wearing a hijab. In another incident, this mosque in Chicoutimi was vandalized with pig's blood.
There is a serious problem right now within our society that the government must do something about it.
The minister responsible for the charter says the debate around it has, for the most part, been healthy.
And I maintain that we should be respectful of each other, even though we disagree.
The government will table its Charter of Values in the legislature on Thursday. It will then need to win support for it among the opposition. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
A dramatic scene in New Jersey after a mall shooting. Police found the body of 20-year-old Richard Shoup inside the mall early today, dead of apparent self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Police say Shoup opened fire inside the mall just before 9 o'clock last night. No one was injured, but the building was put on lockdown as officers searched through the stores. Witnesses say Shoup had a rifle and fired numerous shots. A local prosecutor says he had a history of trouble with the law and is known to have had problems with drugs.
Hundreds of people braved harsh winds and freezing rain last night to offer hope to a teenager who is battling cancer. They were at a prayer vigil for a 15-year-old boy in a small Newfoundland and Labrador community. Mark Quinn reports.
Father in heaven, how we love you.
It was as much a celebration as a vigil, and people who know Riley say he wouldn't want it any other way.
Oh, he is unbelievable. His sense of humor is phenomenal, and he's always there for a joke. He was really, really a fun child.
He never complains. He hasn't complained once throughout this entire ordeal, and some of the things he says are so profound.
Riley was diagnosed with cancer almost 2 years ago. His family's been hit hard by tragedy before. His sister Alex died of cancer almost 11 years ago. Last night, his mother, Louise Mercer, talked about what she often told Riley after his sister's death.
I would always tell Riley, you better... I would always tell Riley, you better not go before me. He would always laugh and say, I won't. Well, Riley Mercer, I'm going to tell you one last time, you better not go before me.
About 400 people came to sing and offer support.
I got 2 kids myself, and I know exactly what they're going through. Cancer is pretty rampant in our family.
Riley was just meters from the crowd inside his home, but he couldn't take this in. Over the last few months, he's lost his sight and hearing. What happens next is unknown.
May God heal him and take care of him. He's such a special child, and they're such a special family.
Riley's family said they wanted to thank all the people who came. They said they hope everyone brought some of Riley's sense of humor and patience home with them. Mark Quinn, CBC News, Conception Bay South.
Finally tonight, India's space program has launched a satellite headed for Mars. If it's successful, India will be just the 4th program in the world to complete a Mars mission. It will take that spacecraft about 300 days to get there, reaching orbit in Mars in 2014. Well, a mixed day on the markets today. Let's take a look at the numbers. The TSX Composite was unchanged today at 13,361. Dow fell 21 points to 15,618, and the Nasdaq edged up 3 points to 39.39. Our dollar fell back almost 0.4% to 95.62 cents U.S. Gold slipped $6 to $1,304 an ounce, and oil continued to drop, falling over $1 a barrel to the $93 mark. Well, it was awards time for some special students at Lakehead University today.
Yeah, just in time. Christmas just around the corner. Somebody's going to get a stocking stuffer, I think. Well, another varsity season has begun at Lakehead University. The men's and women's basketball teams are getting ready for their home openers Friday night with the Carleton Ravens. The 10th ranked hockey team is off to Sudbury Thursday night for a pair with Laurentian, while the volleyballers sit at 2-2. Today, the first athletes of the month were honored. Ryan Benazzo takes a look at October's finest in this report.
He's been buried on the depth chart for much of his time at Lakehead, but now senior Anthony McIntosh is finally seeing big minutes for a new-look Thunderwolves men's basketball team. McIntosh has been named the club's player of the month for October. He says he's trained harder this offseason than ever before and is ready to take on a leadership role.
As a veteran, for my role is more so just, picking people up, encouraging, making sure that I'm setting the bar high and giving as much effort in practice as I'd want my fellow teammates too.
Forward Mike Hammond takes home Player of the Month honors for the Thunderwolves hockey team. The third-year forward with the great hands already has 9 points through 6 OUA games. Runners Dominic Olignon and Danielle Thiel finished 12th and 13th respectively at last month's OUA championships. They've each qualified for this weekend's CIS races in London.
Hoping to run similar to how I did at OUAs. I went out hard with the front group and just hung on, so going to do the same thing at CIS and hope to finish in the top 14 again.
My expectations are anywhere in the top 25, I think is reasonable. And I'm just hoping to run as well as I did as OUs, just reproduce that and then whatever results come out of it.
Megan Smith and Chris Waltner are October's best wrestlers. They're each off to 3-0 starts this season. Libero Brianne Hillhorst was a bright spot for the volleyball team that fell to 2-2 after a pair of losses this weekend. Coach Chris Green singled her out as the club's athlete of the month. Hillhorst says she appreciates that.
I was working hard. I was trying to get everybody going, playing my own game, and focusing on everybody else's, trying to help everybody else out too. So it was amazing to hear that and to know that I am contributing, I am helping, and it is being noticed by my coach.
Aisha Kalkin is the women's basketball representative. Amy Matthews and Sean Carter are the Nordic skiing recipients. Coach Amanda Holdsworth expects big things from the pair this season. Ryan Benazzo, TBT Sports.
Well, Daniel Del Poggio of the Thunder Bay North Stars has been selected to play on Team West for the Canadian Junior Hockey League's Prospects game in Digby, Nova Scotia this weekend. The North Stars host Dryden at the Gardens tonight at 7:30. There are 9 games in the NHL this evening, including Montreal at home to St. Louis. Ottawa visits Columbus. Florida welcomes Edmonton. Minnesota entertains Calgary, and Phoenix awaits Vancouver. Last night in New York, the Ducks start the scoring. Dustin Petter puts it on net. Corey Perry swoops in. He'll hop on the rebound, beating Henrik Lundqvist for his 9th of the season. Later in the first, Brad Richards coughs it up, and it's Kyle Palmieri making the Rangers pay as he'll get his 4th of the season. You can make it 2-zip Anaheim. Late in the second, the Blue Shirts close out the scoring. Michael Del Zotto gobbles up a loose puck for his first, but the Ducks would hang on to win their 2nd this season over the Rangers 2-1. In Winnipeg, Michael Frolik sets up Matt Halishchuk for the game winner. The Jets snap a 3-game slide, beating Detroit 4-2. The Toronto Raptors host the defending NBA champs, the Miami Heat, tonight at the Hangar. The Raptors are the subject of the rumor of the day. Could Canada's Steve Nash be heading home? Rob Leth reports.
The greatest basketball player in Canadian history is getting traded to Toronto. That is, if you believe the rumors. According to a tweet from NBA reporter Alex Kennedy, several league sources have indicated to him that the Raptors are a possible destination for 2-time MVP Steve Nash.
He's a damn good player. He's a proud Canadian. He wears that on his sleeve.
A move that would likely do wonders for the Raptors brand.
Definitely more headlines, more ticket sales.
From a pure basketball sense, though, does landing Nash make sense?
I don't know that it's necessarily a bad idea per se. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Nash still has 2 years left on a 3-year, $27 million deal he signed with the Lakers last summer, and the Raps aren't exactly a contender.
If Toronto's actually in a position to, think that they're making a run towards a postseason or making a run towards a, dare I say, a second-round appearance, a conference championship or something, then maybe adding a veteran like Steve Nash helps. But, a week into the season, I just don't know how much stock I put in this rumor just suddenly popping up out of nowhere.
There is an LA connection with new MLSE boss Tim Leiweke coming to Toronto from the West Coast, and there is no doubting that he wants to boost the Raptors' image, especially with the All-Star game coming to the city in 2016. The rumors bring back memories from the 90s when Wayne Gretzky was oh so close to becoming a Leaf.
And he thought he was coming to Toronto. I mean, he thought it was all done. Cliff Fletcher was all excited, and it meant a trio of Matt Sundin, Doug Gilmour, Wayne Gretzky.
A deal that was vetoed by Steve Stavro, who couldn't come up with $2 million.
Wouldn't you know it, Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment moves in, Stavro's out, and 3 years later, they signed Lenny Wilkins at $5 million a year to be the head coach of the Raptors, and 3 years earlier, they couldn't afford $2 million a year to get Wayne Gretzky to Toronto.
Whether or not the Nash rumors are true or if they're just pure Hollywood remains to be seen. Rob Leth, Global News.
Well, Week 9 came to a close in the NFL last night with the Monday Nighter at Lambeau in Green Bay, and a scary moment off the hop for Packer fans. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers suffers a cracked collarbone early in the first after being sacked by Shea McClellan. He'll be gone at least 3 weeks. Chicago will take a 7-3 lead as Josh McCown shows off his arm strength. He'll sling it 23 yards to Brandon Marshall. That's his 6th touchdown of the year. Green Bay regains the lead. James Starks takes the handoff, and he's gone up the middle. He'll go 32 yards to the house to make it 10-7. Second quarter, Matt Forte caps a 6-play, 60-yard drive with a 1-yard touchdown. The Bears with the lead back. But then rookie Eddie Lacy powers his way into the end zone from about a yard out, and Green Bay was back in control, 20-17. Back came Chicago as McCown finds Alshon Jeffrey. It's a 6-yard touchdown reception. Chicago moves into a 3-way tie for first in the NFC North as they win it 27-20. And the NFL is investigating the troubled relationship between Miami Dolphins offensive lineman Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito, who has been suspended by the team for his treatment of the rookie.
At the 30. In a game predicated on aggression, there are questions now about whether controversial Miami Dolphins lineman Richie Incognito has crossed the line with his words.
But from what we hear, Incognito took it a step too far, relentless bullying, name-calling.
The Pro Bowl offensive lineman has been suspended indefinitely from the Dolphins after reports locker room banter escalated to the level of bullying and hazing of teammate Jonathan Martin, who left the team last week and has accused Incognito of harassment. The NFL and NFL's Players Association are apparently reviewing several texts and voicemails Incognito allegedly left on Martin's cell phone, including one described in multiple media reports as profanity-laced, including a racial slur and ending with this threat, quote, "You're still a rookie, I'll kill you."
The NFL is going to conduct a review of the workplace. It's going to be comprehensive, it's going to be objective, and we are going to give, as an organization, our full and complete cooperation with the NFL.
Incognito is no stranger to controversy.
Richie Incognito coming out had a lot of issues, got kicked out of Nebraska. We had the category DNDC, do not draft because of character.
Cut from his first NFL team, Incognito seemed to be turning his reputation around, named one of the Dolphins' good guys last season by the local media. Since the allegations emerged, Incognito's only response has been this post of a quote from Buddha on his verified Twitter account. 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. A truth ongoing investigations are still trying to find.
And the Toronto Blue Jays have signed pitcher Juan Perez to a minor league contract. He'll join infielder Andy LaRoche and catcher Mike Nikias with invites to spring training. Also, a late try in Montreal's Julianne Zusman with the late try would give Canada an 11-6 win over France today in a women's rugby test match that avenges a 27-19 loss to France in Canada's European Tour opener on Saturday. And on the NASCAR circuit, just 3 races to go. Jimmy Johnson has the points lead. He'll try to extend that. And there's a race coming up again Sunday afternoon. Just like the golf season, auto racing really never stops.
That's right.
Just takes a short break.
Short break over Chris. All right, thanks very much, Randy.
All right, well, tonight, Barry, I know you love to read, as do I, and tonight we are going to give away, well, not we, but Canada's giving away one of its biggest literary prizes, the Giller Prize, and we've got that on our lineup with more. Here's Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay at 8, it's NCIS. And Tony and McGee argue over who should take point on the case. Then at 9 on NCIS Los Angeles, a murder reveals a terrorist threat against an LA train. And at 10 on Elementary, Sherlock investigates a hit and run involving a conspiracy theorist. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8, Rick joins a zombie walk on the Rick Mercer Report. At 8:30 p.m., get ready for more political ambushes and news of the weird on 22 Minutes. Then at 9, the author of the best Canadian novel will be awarded the Scotiabank Giller Prize. And at 11:35, George talks with former newsman Don Newman about Ottawa Now. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, yesterday it was raining, today relatively sunny. Fiona, every day is a little bit different, and that's going to continue?
Yeah, it's going to keep us guessing and try to plan for just about anything as you head out first thing in the morning. Today we started out with a fair amount of sunshine. We did top out with a high of 7, but the clouds really moved in this afternoon, and things are moving very quickly across the country. Now, yesterday we noted that on both sides of the country, both coasts, very, very cool. Thunder Bay was definitely the hot spot. Well, that hasn't changed all that much. 6 Celsius in Vancouver with clouds and even more rain on the way, 1 in Prince George. Very cool day in Alberta. Fair amount of sunshine, but not a lot of heat. It's just been very, very crisp and below seasonal. Calgary sitting right at the freezing mark at this hour. And very cool in southern Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatoon has been seeing the temperatures drop since about noon, and they were already below seasonal. Right now, -10 at this hour, -7 in Regina. And Winnipeg, windy and gray in the city today. Right now, the wind chill makes it feel like -6. Meanwhile, in southern Ontario, Toronto actually managed a high of 12 this afternoon, despite a fair amount of cloud cover. They're currently at 11. Ottawa, Montreal region, they actually hit double digits, just 10, but still double digits. and they were under partly sunny skies at that time. Clouds have rolled in a little bit this evening. Quebec City, a little chillier, sitting right above the freezing mark at 1 Celsius, and they had a fair amount of cloud cover as well. The Maritimes, fairly seasonal and partly cloudy for the most part in Fredericton, Charlottetown, and Halifax as the sun goes down and things start to cool off in the evening. So they're about where you expect to see them. Meanwhile, St. John's, the temperature has actually been hovering just below the freezing mark, -1, -2 for about the last 20 or so hours. So not a whole lot of a warm up today. And currently the wind chill makes it feel like -8. Now, if we take a look at what is happening with these systems, we have a very strong jet stream just to the south of the international border, and that's causing these storm fronts to move through very quickly rather than have these highs and low dips that we often see with the jet stream. They're just shuttling along very quickly through the region. So basically, it's a daily change that we're going to see. Now, today, that low moved through the Great Lakes just to the south of us, brought in the clouds for tonight, and will continue to do so for tomorrow, staying to the south of us. We're not expecting precipitation for Thunder Bay, but we are expecting some cloud cover as we head into Thursday. That's going to continue to be nice and dry. And again, a mix of sun and cloud, a little bit of an effect from the precipitation to the north of us. But we'll also see another high move in. Right now, though, for Thursday, that's going to mean we're going to get a bit of a northwesterly flow as well. So Thursday is going to be yet another cool day. Now, if we take a look tonight, -5, -4, well, it's pretty close to seasonal, maybe a degree or two above for the most part. And Sault Ste. Marie, unfortunately, going to be seeing a lot of rain tonight and also for tomorrow, despite some very nice temperatures, 10 Celsius in the Sault. Everywhere else to the west, hovering right around that freezing mark, which is really, it's a little cooler than most of us would like to see. At this hour, we're at 2 Celsius and the skies are pretty cloudy. Tonight, we will dip just ever so slightly to 0 Celsius with plenty of cloud to go with it. Now, we will start the day at about 1 with lots of cloudy skies, and then by the afternoon, you might see the sun start to peek out a little bit. 3 Celsius will actually top out with a high of 4 tomorrow. But remember, those winds could make it feel a little cooler than that. By Thursday, variable cloud, but just 2 Celsius, 3 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. What this doesn't show, though, is Friday night. And unfortunately, we could actually see a little bit of snow on Friday night, but we'll worry about that as we get closer to the weekend. That's your forecast.
Turning now to health news, we changed back the standard time over the weekend, and that meant we picked up an extra hour. Most of us use that additional time to get a little more sleep. Erica Edwards looks into how much that really helps.
We are a nation of tired people. The Centers for Disease Control even refers to insufficient sleep as a public health epidemic. This Sunday morning, though, a gift. An extra hour of sleep thanks to the end of daylight saving time.
After that, it's back to normal. Yes.
Dr. Mina Khan is a sleep expert at Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center. She says the benefit of that extra hour only lasts a day or two.
Typically, 1 or 2 days of catch-up is not enough to really replenish the sleep loss during the week.
Dr. Khan says light is the biggest deterrent to sleep and recommends making the bedroom as dark as possible. The path to the land of slumber is not lit by television screens and other electronic devices.
Sometimes people like to use these things if they're having trouble sleeping, but actually they can promote more alertness, especially if you're engaged in whatever activity you're doing.
Dr. Khan also recommends being as physically active as possible during the day and says exercise in late afternoon or early evening may be most effective for sleep. Cut the caffeine at least 4 hours before bedtime and stick to the same bed and wake-up time every day.
Well, there's something about dramatic weather events that compels some people to try and get a little closer look, but sometimes you can get a little too close for comfort. We'll have that for you right after these words. Okay, how's this for being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Check out what happened during a storm in Wales over the weekend. Whoa. The guy you see at the bottom left-hand screen of the picture here was taking pictures of people watching the storm when that wave hit him and everybody else in close proximity. He says he could have been killed. Yeah, he could have. Luckily, he did walk away along with everybody else, but maybe next time he won't be so anxious to get a close-up look at the water.
Nothing like getting right into the action.
Yeah. We're going to recap our top story. Well, a bombshell at Toronto City Hall today. Mayor Rob Ford admitted that he did smoke crack cocaine. However, he says he will not be stepping down from his position. And the Thunder Bay North Stars open another homestand as they get ready to take on the Ice Dogs from Dryden. We'll have highlights later.
That'll do it for tonight's Look at News, Weather, and Sports. Thanks for being with us, and have a great evening.